switching
sure.
gears here a little bit, some general NBA stuff. First topic we have to talk about is my Phoenix Suns are absolutely rolling right now. Second in the West. I believe they're 2 games out of the 1 seed behind the Jazz. They've beaten the Jazz twice this year, so watch out for them to go all the way up to the 1 seed. I'm knocking on wood right now, but they are just a well-oiled machine. They're one of the few teams in the NBA too. When you watch them in the regular season, they look like they're like fully trying, and I think a lot of that is the Chris Paul effect. Chris Paul is just a dog, and I don't know. I love this team so much. Monty Williams is doing a really good job. But you got Chris Paul giving you 15 and 10 a night. You get Booker scoring 30 left and right. Mikal Bridges, the perfect modern day 3-and-D guy. Sarge is a good shooter. He was playing really well during his stretch. Now he's falling off a little bit. Jay Crowder was an amazing signing. Great for their culture they're trying to build. He's a great defender. He's knocked down from the corner. And DeAndre Ayton is inconsistent, but becoming less inconsistent. He's growing, and he's a threat to drop 25 and 15 any night. I just love where this team's going, and watching them and like seeing that how they've developed and they've gotten these players and they're now they're starting to come in their own a little bit is really fun to see.
Yeah, I mean, like it's interesting because like even last year at the beginning of the year when Chris Paul was traded to the Thunder, everyone was like, "Oh, the Thunder have a less than 1% chance to make the playoffs," and then everyone was like, "Oh, Chris Paul is still really good, not just as a basketball player, but as like as a culture guy." And we're seeing the exact same thing with the Suns. And like it's interesting. Like if you put good basketball players on a basketball team, good things will happen. And Chris Paul. I mean, the Suns, them jumping from kind of like a basement dweller in the
They
West.
They made the playoffs in 10 years, and they had 2-3 years where they had a legitimate chance. One of them being going 9-0 in the bubble and still missing the playoffs.
Yeah, and then going from that to the 2 seed in the West right now is pretty incredible. And I love the fact that I think it's great to have like Devin Booker. Like I feel like a couple like it felt like Devin Booker was just kind of like not wasting because he's still young, but like to have a young player, an young exciting player to not be in the playoffs was always upsetting. And now that he's going to be at the forefront, probably depending on who they end up playing, like probably will certainly be favored in the first round. It's
I'm
really
very
exciting.
confident in them winning a first round matchup. It's looking like, I think if the season ended today, they'd be playing, or are they doing a like play-in type thing for the last few seasons?
I think they are doing a play-in tournament, yeah.
Well, the 7 seed right now is the Mavs, and I feel very comfortable. The Mavs would be tough because of Luka, all of them, but I like their chances. If they play the Grizzlies, if the Grizzlies move up or whatever, I like their chances against that, or if the Warriors or Spurs slide up or whatever.
Watch out for the Kings, 5 games back right now, but they're getting in there.
Right.
Or 6 games back.
Yeah. They've been sitting in that 12 to 13 seed range for the last
15 years.
Exactly. But yeah, the Suns, it is so cool to see. They feel like as if someone in real life started up like a 2K My League and like just started and like they like tank the first year or whatever, and then they got DeAndre Ayton, and then he took a year to develop, and then all of a sudden you get like one big signing.
Yeah.
Granted, Chris Paul was a trade. That's what they feel like to me though, which is really cool.
Yeah, it is cool that like
I love seeing stuff like that.
The quote unquote, traditional process.
They started the rebuild when Steve Nash left.
Yeah, they started the rebuild. They started the rebuild. They're at they're climax of the rebuild. Sorry. Yeah, no, it's super exciting. In the NBA this year, like obviously no fans or anything, but like it is super exciting. Like to have like just it seems as though like the standings it seems like it's literally like randomized. Like if you played like 2K, and you like simmed 5 years, like this would be where like the standings are. You know what I mean?
As one
Um,
seed, Suns 2 seed, the
right.
Hawks in the 4 seed.
Yeah, like the
Yeah,
Knicks are gonna make the playoff. Well,
yeah.
could they might make the playoffs, but at least the play-in tournament probably.
Mm,
Um, it's interesting. Like, and the Warriors, obviously, granted, without Clay, and they weren't very good last year. Obviously, one of the
yeah.
I think the worst record in the NBA, but still, like them being on the outsides looking in right now. The Lakers, obviously, LeBron and AD are hurt, but like they're slipping a little bit, and probably like imagine having to play LeBron in the first round and you're like the 3 seed. You know what I mean? Like that very well could happen.
Hmm.
And so and then obviously the Nets have been awful for years on top of years. And obviously, granted, 3 star players, that changes things, one might
That
think,
just
but
kind of goes to show with like the rise of like the Lakers now and like the Nets. Um, Once one of those like bigger market teams like gets like a good-ish culture going. Granted, the Lakers didn't have like a great culture before LeBron got there. He kind of just went there, and because those big markets, as soon as you get like a little bit of momentum, it can start growing fast. And I think that'll be interesting to see the Knicks as they're starting to at least be slightly respectable. Um, the next couple of years, they could be like more of a destination, and I think that could be really interesting.
yeah, Julius Randle is becoming a teammate that or a player that I feel like players are going to want to play with. Like, he's very good. He was obviously an all-star and deservedly so. Um, so yeah, I mean, you're right. Like the whole big market allure, uh, we might see kind of come to fruition down the road, um, as we've seen with the Nets and the Lakers. And then the Celtics have fallen off a little bit this year, and I would consider Boston, a pretty big market.
Yeah.
Uh, and but like still, I mean, like Jason Tatum's still proving he's an incredible basketball player. And I think at the beginning of the year, like I had high expectations of the Celtics, and they've obviously teared it off a little bit. But for Jason Tatum, like his expectations, I feel like he's met fully for me.
Mm-hmm. So we were kind of talking about this before the show. Do you think it is a foregone conclusion that the Nets are going to the finals?
Yeah, we did talk about this a little bit, and I think like I think honestly, well, I wouldn't say a foregone conclusion, right? Like obviously they have to play the games, and I think Giannis is just like the like Giannis might just be good enough. Well, the Bucks in general with Drew Holiday, obviously Chris Middleton might be good enough, but I would say at this rate that they are heavy favorites at least, like heavy, like minus 500 almost, for me at least.
Yeah. Does that mean you're throwing money down on the Nets to get to the finals? Because their odds are like you'd have a much bigger payout than minus 500 right now.
I would. Why not?
Yeah. All right. I definitely think they're the best team in the East. Um, what I was talking about before, it's very interesting that the way the standings are right now, they'd have to get through the Bucks with Giannis and the Sixers with Embiid with little to no like front court defense, which is at an all-time low in value in the NBA right now. But when you're playing the Sixers and Bucks specifically, I think that's got to be like at least a big factor to consider.
Yeah.
Like Giannis is going to have his way in the paint, and obviously Embiid's going to against anyone, and in Giannis as well. But they have no one to stop it. We last night we were talking about it. Andre Drummond dominated them, and the Lakers won by 25.
Mm-hmm.
And like LaMarcus Aldridge looked lost, and even was talking about in the post game interview. He's like, I can't believe how bad defensively I am, and like that's because you've never been good at defense, and now you're 35 or whatever after just getting bought out and whatever. Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to touch about on that was they lose by 25, and I believe Kyrie got ejected. But
Yeah, him and Dennis Schroeder got ejected.
Harden didn't play. And I am here to say that James Harden is the reason the Nets are so good. He is the driver of that. And I'm going to come out here with the claim that James Harden is the second best player in the NBA behind LeBron James. And that's a take I stand by. And I know a lot of people will heavily disagree with that.
So you
I'll let
think
you have
he's
your raw reactions to that, and then I'll explain further.
okay? So you think he's the best player on the Nets currently?
Yes.
So better than James Harden. Okay.
I'll
James Harden. I'm sorry, Kevin Durant.
I'll let you have your raw reactions to that, and then I'll explain further.
I would say, like he's been roughly top 5 for the past 5 years. To say he's number 2, he's behind LeBron. I would say Giannis, I would put above him. KD, honestly, I would probably put above him. And this season, if you had to pick an MVP this season, I wouldn't pick Harden, but I do think he's certainly top 3 in MVP. So I don't think I don't think he's the second best player in the NBA. That being said, I don't think it's an incredible stretch.
So I think everyone's immediate reaction would be, like you said, bring up KD, bring up Giannis, all that. I think well, first of all, we'll talk about KD on the next. KD is a better, I'd say, pure scorer, just give him the ball and go score type of player. But the impact that Harden has on the entire game and their entire team versus KD's impact, I think they're better off going to a game in the playoffs. If they had to pick one, if one was sitting out, they'd rather have Harden because he makes the offense flow and the balls are in his hand. The ball's in his hand. And he's finding open shooters. I mean, he averaged 11 assists a game. I know, all that stuff. But the way he facilitates and has complete control over the game. I mean, we were just talking about how much Chris Paul made the Suns better because he does stuff like that. Harden does that, and he gives you 25 points a game and can score 40 in any game he wants. And I think that's just the value he adds. I think that's a skill set that not many players in the NBA have. That ability to just completely master the offense, and if you give them the pieces, they can absolutely orchestrate this elite offense. I think that's a trait LeBron has. I think that's something Chris Paul has. And off the top of my head, I don't know if anyone else is on those 3 people's level in terms of that. And I think that goes very under the carpet and underrated in terms of how good a player is. I don't care if you can score 40 points if everyone else on your team isn't even getting shots up. Granted, Kevin Durant's extremely efficient and blah, 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 but I think Harden also orchestrates part of his efficiency rather than him just being this amazing, perfect player that never misses a shot. And I think Giannis is the one that gets up there and he has all these raw stats and he feels unstoppable and stuff. But when it comes down to it and you need a shot and someone's playing defense on Giannis, would I rather have him or Harden have the ball when I need a bucket from my offense rather than just one player? And I'm giving the ball Harden 10 times out of 10. Because fucking Jimmy Butler is going to take a charge on Giannis with 2 minutes left and he's going to have 5 fouls. So that's my take on that. I am firm that he is the second best player in the NBA. I think everyone likes to bring up his defense, and I think that is very important, but it is less important than people think. And I think he's a much better defender than people give him credit for. Yeah, that's my take on that. And I know I wanted to get that out, and I know a lot of people will disagree, but I will stand on that hill.
Yeah, no, I mean, as cliche as it sounds, right? I think the playoffs will very well could firmly put him, where you're saying, right? Like regular season, he's been amazing, right? And I think it's fair to say he probably has been the second best regular season player, if not the best regular season player the last 5 years. That being said, like, yeah, it does matter. Like in the playoffs, if he is continuing this production on top of elevating his teammates, right? Like, then yeah, he's up there.
Let me ask you this question. Kevin Durant, they go to the finals and they beat the Lakers. Kevin
Okay.
Durant, I know it's not as easy as just like spurting out raw stats. Let's say Kevin Durant averages 34 points a game in the finals and his like normal like whatever, like rebounds, blah blah blah. Let's say Harden on relatively efficient shooting averages 26, 11, 12 assists, like he's averaging right now, and his 7, 8 rebounds that he gets. Who do they give Finals MVP to?
Yeah, they would give it to Harden, I would imagine.
I would
Um,
think. I think he's
I would
been like
imagine, yeah.
the the keys to the engine in the car of that team right now. I think Kevin Durant is great and he's unstoppable and he can get a shot off whenever he wants. But it's just not as valuable as what Harden brings. Everyone just gets also obsessed with Kevin Durant's like ability to just shoot over everyone like he does at Rucker Park or whatever that stupid video is. But Harden is the one that makes them that elite, unstoppable team. And everyone was so worried about there being like too many like ball dominant people and the ball's not like there to go around. Harden's the one that makes that all work.
Mm.
On top of all of that, there's just so much more that goes into the Nets in the game of basketball than just like looking cool and just scoring, like just flat out scoring like um Kevin Durant does. And I think Harden just adds more value.
I'll ask you this: do you think he's the MVP this year?
Do I think he's the MVP? The MVP, I've always had a big problem with the MVP award.
Mm.
Um, Mostly in sports in general, because if you go by like the way the award is normally given, I do not think he's the MVP. It's probably who's probably the leader right now, like
I would say
Embiid.
Jokic.
Jokic is
Jokic is
up there too.
probably one. Yeah.
Like it's dumb because like LeBron's been the best player in the league for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, um, the way the award is given, it's normally like a team with a really good record and like they're clearly the best player on their team. And I think Harden is. If I was the sole person giving out the award, um, it would probably be for me be between. I would probably give it to Harden based on the argument I just gave of him being
Yeah.
the second best player and LeBron's been hurt. Um, I don't know. I just hate the MVP question because there's so many like it feels like there's almost like political aspects to the award of like the way it's
Yeah. Fair
supposed to be
enough.
given versus like actually the most valuable player. So
Yeah,
if I
that's
think
fair.
Harden is the second most valuable player and second best player in the NBA and they have the record to match and all that, I would have zero problem if he won MVP. The other thing is like all three stars on the Nets, they'd sit out every other game. But um, I I I would be I would have an argument for him to win MVP, and he's not winning MVP.
No, I would think he probably wouldn't. Yeah, but no, I think there's an argument, especially
Yeah.
because of just how good the Nets are in general. And if if he's not one, he's certainly sorry. If he's not two, he's certainly one. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because of the reasons why they're so good. So
Let me
yeah,
ask you this question: is there a huge difference in the value that they bring in Kyrie versus Kevin Durant?
like KD. Like, do I think the disparity between like
Kyrie and KD in terms of not just like how purely good they are at basketball,
oh like
purely the value
what
they bring.
oh okay, I would say there is. I would say there's. I mean, that's something again that I think KD, like right now in the regular season, coming off a torn Achilles, very well might be doing the LeBron regular season where, especially when because he can right now, like he doesn't need to put and he might not even have to do in the playoffs. He might not have to go, you know, pedal to the metal.
I don't think we've
Um,
ever really seen that. I mean, his MVP season in OKC, where he averaged 30 a game. I mean, they had Harden and Westbrook, but I feel like we've
honestly,
never even seen. We have 100% never seen Kevin Durant just like will a team to be really good, and I think that's more impressive than not being the straw that stirs the drink and just reaping the benefits of all of that.
yeah.
When I
Um,
think Harden's the one that stirs the drink and Katie benefits from.
I think the Nets should trade for Russell Westbrook and just why
Try
not
again. Yeah,
try it? Yeah,
because
see if you can't get.
yeah,
I mean, I feel bad. Like he's wasting away in DC right now. And fuck, like Harden, Harden and KD are like probably favorites to win the finals this year, if
I know
not,
you're
number two.
joking and like obviously like that would be a very stupid thing to do.
Right, they
I would
can't
love
do
to
it. I
see
don't
it.
think financially. Oh, I would love to see it too, but financially, obviously, they can't. Also, if you're a Thunder fan and you saw that, how awful would that be? Or would it be? I mean, I guess you could skew it as like, oh, those are my guys, but like they haven't been in a while, so
Yeah.
yeah,
All right. Well, I think we had a good episode today.
yeah, we gotta wrap it
Glad to
up.
be
Yeah,
back.
of course, yeah, we're gonna keep trying to keep up with the schedule, probably once a week, recording. So
Yeah, sure. We're gonna have probably draft content coming out more and more as the draft quickly approaches. I really want to get another one of our what we would do mock drafts out there.
mhm.
I really enjoyed that last year.
Yeah, it
Uh,
was fun.
Maybe we can continue our streak because we started off last year. I think it was 5 for 5 or 6 for 6.
I think it was 6 for 6, and
We weren't even
then
trying to predict it. We were just saying what we would
no,
do, and it was
and
just
then yeah, Herbert was the one. Justin Herbert was the one we quote unquote missed on, at 7. Yeah,
yep.
so
Oh, all right. Well, if you have nothing else,
I'm all
um,
set.
ready to sign off. Well, thanks for
Yeah,
watching, guys. All right. See ya.
yeah. Thanks for tuning in, guys.